Hello, welcome to my channel WWE Pulse.
In the world of professional wrestling, there is work, and then there's shoot. Work is anything that is part of the planned, scripted show. Shoot is anything that happens in real life, anything unscripted, on-ting rail. Sometimes, though, the line between the two is intentionally blurred for maximum effect, and it's this collision of work and shoot that creates some of wrestling's most compelling moments. There are shoots within the walk, if that makes sense. It's like Russian nesting dolls. Here are some of my favorite examples of this. Also, shoot, don't miss. Hit the thumbs up if you love wrestling as much as I do. And subscribe if you want more videos about wrestling and stuff. A lot of people think of wrestlers as athletes first and foremost. But really, wrestlers are performance artists. Their bodies may be athletes, but their minds are trained to perform. The best wrestlers have the ability to make you believe that what they're doing is real in the moment. But you know it's not. You know it's work. Even as you suspend your disbelief, you know it's fake. If you can't do that, you're probably not a wrestling fan. But sometimes during these performances, real emotions get involved. Sometimes the lines get blurred. Sometimes it becomes a shoot. A shoot where you're reacting emotionally to what's happening in the ring, not because the writers told you to. These are the most compelling moments in wrestling. The most famous example of this is probably the Montreal on October 1997. At the Survivor Series, Shawn Michaels was supposed to drop the WWF Championship to Bret Hart in the main event. But when Hart sold his submission move a little too early, Michaels tapped out before the ref counted to 3. So Michaels won the title legitimately. That's what was supposed to happen. But Hart was so disgusted with Michaels and with Vince McMahon for screwing him out of the title that he busted open the Montreal. The rest, as they say, is history. I'm going to tell the story of one of my favorite examples of work bleeding into a shoot from the perspective of one of the performers involved. It was the summer of 2000, and I was a young performer in World Championship Wrestling. I had been working in WCW for a few years at that point, and had pretty much worked every position on the card. One night in late July, I was hanging out in the dressing room after a show. As primera one, le Kevin heard Tony Schiavone talking on the phone. I could just barely hear what he was saying, but it sounded like he was having an argument with someone. It didn't take me long to figure out who it was on the other end of the line. About 10 minutes later, Tony hung up the phone, got up on a chair, and addressed the room. He said, "All right, listen up." Everyone stopped what they were doing and stared at Tony. This was never good. Tony was usually the most laid-back guy in the room. The only time he ever got upset was when Scott Hall broke his finger with a steel chair. That was another story. Tony started reading off names. When he got to mine, he said, "You're going to be in the main event next week." I smiled. I was happy to hear that. Then I looked around the room. Every single person whose name Tony had called was new to the main event. Now, those of us who had been in the main event before knew what this meant. For the newcomers, it meant nothing. There were going to be a lot of new main events over the next few weeks. We would spend a few days in the gym each week, taping segments for Thunder and Nitro, and our main events would usually air the following week. This was different. This was gonna be a new main event every week, and while I was unsure how the fans would react to seeing new faces in the main event, I was excited to see how far we could push these new guys. We started taping the main events the next day in the gym. Each match was longer than usual because we had to tape multiple segments that would be shown as individual stories throughout the week on Thunder. One of the matches we taped was between myself and Bam Bigelow. Now, Bam Bam was a veteran of many main events, but for whatever reason, this was the first time I had ever faced him. Now, if you've watched any of my other videos, you know that I consider myself very lucky to have wrestled as many times as I did. I got to wrestle so many legends during my career. And that's what I consider myself very lucky to have done. But even still, there were guys I wanted to wrestle more than others. Guys like Bam was a monster. He was intimidating. He was everything that I was not. I had such a great deal of respect for Bam, and I knew that a match with him would be a great learning experience. Unfortunately, we would only ever wrestle once in front of a live audience. We wrestled a dark match, meaning a match that took place before the show started and wasn't televised, in Cincinnati, Ohio on August. And, as you might expect, the match was a slow burn. If you want to see footage of the match, check out this channel. I upload clips of matches I've been a part of here. Bam! And I beat each other up pretty good that night. It was physical, but it was also very respectful. We worked well together. I remember thinking during the match, man, I wish this was our actual main event. Little did I know, Bam Bam had the same idea. After the bell rang and we were done, I shook Bam's hand and complimented him on how well he worked. He told me that he was surprised at how well I worked, and that he enjoyed the match. He also told me something else that shocked me. He said, you know, I think we should try to screw these fans. I laughed. I thought he was joking. What do you mean? I asked. He told me that we had such a good chemistry that we should go out there next week and give the fans a real fight. To this day, I'm not sure if Bam Bam was serious or if he was messing with me. Either way, I played along. We made plans to really go at it the following week, when we would tape our segments in the gym. When we got to the gym, I told the crew that I was going to go after Bam Bam. I was going to give him a legit beatdown. Their response was, finally, so the next 6 or 7 minutes was me beating the hell out of Bam Bam. I hit him with everything I had. He sold it perfectly. And by the time I was done, he looked like he had just been in a street fight. He was covered in bruises, cuts, and scratches. As the segment came to an end, I grabbed the microphone and cut a promo telling Bam Bam that he didn't want any part of me. I bragged about how I had just whipped him and told him that he would never live it down. I remember walking off set and hearing the crew erupt into cheers. They were loving it, but I could tell by their cheers that they were also a little concerned. Was this really a work shoot? Had I really just injured Bam Bam? I didn't know what the plan was. When Tony called me into his office to talk about it, he asked me, what the hell did you do to Bam? He was furious. He told me that Bam Bam had a family event that weekend that he was supposed to attend. How was he supposed to show up looking like that? I explained that Bam Bam had told me the night before that he wanted to give the fans a real fight. Tony wasn't having it. He told me that I almost cost Bam his job and that I needed to be careful moving forward. To this day, I feel bad about what happened to Bam that night in the gym. I never saw him after that summer in WCW, but I always wondered if he ever did end up making it to that family event. The fact that Tony chewed me out in his office tells you all you need to know about what happened that night. It was a work shoot. It was a shoe within the work. Tony didn't chew me out because I legitimately injured Bam. He chewed me out because I put Bam in a position where he might have gotten hurt. Sometimes the line between work and shoot is thin. Sometimes it's not even there. Sometimes work is the shoot. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Okay guys, thank you for watching my videos.